So what we're going to do here, guys, is we're going to be playing the 30 big blind, small blind versus big blind spot where the small blind elects to limp off 30, the big blind ices to a raise size in the post-flop sim available in DTO post-flop. It is 3.3 big blinds. You're going to see some sims that are like a larger size, just kind of skews ranges because the opposition player gets a slightly worse price in the in this pre-flop sim. We'll go over this in a second. So we will look at some slight differences just from parameter inputs stemming from pre-flop, where the ranges can be slightly different that you get in DTO pre-flop as to what's seen in DTO post-flop, but the large pattern of play is still very much the same and worth considering. I don't think my chat's scrolling down properly. Just trying to like make sure I see things as they come. Maybe I should move it a bit further. It's tough because it's such a small window here. I'm not used to doing this. There we go. I'll try that. So now the most recent messages will display. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we'll get in there. All right, so I guess we will begin looking at some stuff here. What's up, Hair Dragon? Right, so what we're going to do first is look at preflop, because preflop is incredibly important for this situation, because we're looking at a very particular node of a game tree that's been played preflop, and that is obviously going to have a heavy influence on what happens postflop in this end, in these situations for quite obvious reasons. So basically, we're folded to blind v blind. We have three options. Well, we have four options. We can open fold, we can limp, we can raise to 3.4, and we can go all in. And what we're going to establish first of all, just realized my chat's, every time I click the chat's going to disappear. I might need to like, yeah, whatever. We'll just roll with it. So we're going to establish here first of all is what the small blind strategy is first in. Somewhat, I mean, like obviously we'll look at the fold strategy for like the bottom X%. But what we're going to do here is just have a little dive into the small blind's range and how that plays. So what you're going to see here, there's going to be an eclectic mix. Oh, there we go. All right, so there's going to be an eclectic mix of like all strategies. So like the very bottom 6% of hands are just going to get mucked. Then you're going to have this class of hand that's like making slightly, it's losing slightly less than half a big blind to call. So we're going to have all of these hands here that are just like limping. And a lot of these hands will just, up to like the low king X will just fall to an ISO. Hands like 9 do soft will just complete and fall to an ISO. You'll notice these hands never feature in a raise strategy first in 30 blind v blind. Because like they just don't make enough money. They have bad blockers, they don't make good pairs, they're very disconnected, can't make strong hands beyond some very questionable pair often. So the EV of raising these hands is not really there, but you can make slightly less than the minus 0.5 big blinds limping them, I believe is how you should envision that. And then we're going to have a bunch of these hands that raise. So one of the very key aspects that I see a lot of people get wrong, actually, especially in lower stakes, is this idea that you always have to like limp lots of like really good hands. And like the shallower you get, the less that this is the case, because hands like aces, kings, queens, jacks, tens don't want to be all in preflop because they're just like way too good to be all in preflop. And what I mean by that is what we're going to see here is that we've got a class of hand ace 10 for ace king off, and when they limp, they're going to just free bet shove over an ISO. This is because those hands have just got a lot of raw equity but are unpaired and have some ideas of just running their equity now and some protection. So the hands that are below this class, like, you know, let's take this ace 10 for ace king off class in a vacuum here that's going to limp. The hands directly below and limp with ideas of limp shoving. The hands below this are actually just going to open shove for 30 bigs. So we're looking at ace 9, ace 8, ace 7 pure. You see this all the time. Like, even if you're like range converted sims, whether you've got like 25 to 30 bigs, you're going to see ace 7 off or ace 9 off just open shove like all the time. Then you're going to see an eclectic mix, even the wheel offsuit aces. You're going to see a bit of king 5 off. You see 7 6 off with some noise in there. The very lowest pairs that don't really benefit too much from limping. Also, deuces and threes with the cards in their hand off remove hands that are going to ISO as a big blind and fold to all-ins too. In a situation whereby the big blind does have to be somewhat careful in what he selects to ISO in the first place, just given the pertinence of having like this limp and free bet jam strategy that the small blind is going to employ once he is elected to limp. So you do see all of these like stronger hands generally just coming for a raise first in. If you're playing 100 big steep, this is much different. If you're playing 60 big steep, this is much different because you can limp and then free bet and open and still play post flop and like lower the SPR that way. But it's just very functionally awkward. I mean, you guys have probably been in this situation before, right? Where like if you limp aces off 30 bigs and you get raised, you're like, oh shit, well, I don't really want to just limp call, and I don't want to shove. That's just really bad. So like what you end up doing is a really weird limp clicky thing. So that the actual answer is generally when you block the hands that are going to raise for you anyway with aces, and there's going to be so much checking back the suited portion of imposition's range, is that you just raise yourself, and then we start, and then we'll talk about some of these hands that are just the same EV and limping and raising, hands that can make pretty good pairs, hands that got reasonable removal. So we start to have like a pretty expansive, like middling kind of selection of hands that are just going to like roll a number and raise or limp respectively. Raise aces yeah. This is groundbreaking stuff here. So yeah, we're going to go into the limp node, obviously, because that's where we're going to be exploring post flop when we get there. So this is the limp, as we've just established. We're going to see that the big blind's range is going to be very much mirrored to some respect in this region of the shove. Slightly more pairs going in. 7-6 off, still absolutely loving it, of course. 7-6 suited now in the mix of the big blind. Obviously, if you're in the small blind, you don't open shove 7-6 suited, just 7-6 off. Don't get that twisted. Ace 2 off, obviously a classic for this 30 big blind against some kind of late position pip. But what we're going to see is like the suited region of the deck is going to do such little ISOing here of 30 bigs, because like the threat of this limp free bet shove and how it's constructed in a way whereby it's going to be a lot of unpaired off-suited hands is like, it's a lot of equity to basically raise fold against how the small blind's constructing. So what we're going to see here is a very, very well-established idea that all of these hands that are raising pre-flop here are just raw value. So if you want to take a note here, any kind of hand you raise that's suited pre-flop at 30 bigs, versus a limp first in the small blind, you should just be raising like linear and raw for value. You shouldn't be like mixing in a 10-3 suited as a big blind. As a small blind, yes, that hand will make it in, as we saw already. Those low suited 10x do make it in as a small blind as a first in. But as the big blind, we're not going to be raising suited hands if they're not just like for raw value. Just pushing equity against this small blind the overall small blind limping range. You'll see a lack of shoving, obviously, from these hands that the hands that are limp free bet shoving for the small blind aren't exactly just shoving as a big blind, because they gather too much EV playing post up in position, for one, and secondly they capture a lot of EV from like that more ragged limp free bet jam idea if the small blind plays particularly aggressively with ace 4 off. I see a lot of people just like limp shove like suited aces as a small blind and stuff, and you're just kind of punting EV really. Your hand's a little just like you kind of want to be like off-suited and have less playability and less EV to go on the post-flop, but still have that raw equity and a blocker idea for generally being all in pre-flop at 30, I would say. That's probably like the main takeaway from looking at these ranges. Anyway, so what we're going to see here that's different, and we will establish this when we go into post-flop, is that the raise sizing in DTO pre-flop is a newer solve. For one, that these solves have been done more recently than the Limp-Raise-Call Spot was initially done, but like heuristically, it's still somewhat the same. What you're going to see here now that we will look at when we get into DTO post-flop, just to establish some of the nuance that's going on with the exact ranges and why you think they're going to be slightly different. The raise size is bigger here for the big blind pre-flop. In the DTO post-flop, initial parameters, it's like a 3.3 big blind ISO. Here, it's like a full 4 big blinds. So against the full 4 big blinds, we're going to actually see slightly more shoving than we would if it was just a 3.3 big blind, just because the price you get on a shove is slightly worse in the DTO post-flop realm solve, and your price on the call is also better, right? You're winning less big blinds when you limp shove and get a fold, and you're also getting a slightly better price to just call when it's 0.7 a big blind less of an ISO size. So what we're going to see here is actually a few of the suited kings in the DTO pre-flop solve is actually are going to move. Some of these candidates that you often see shoving the big blind over a button open are actually going to shift into that category as well. Ace deuce, some of this offsuit raggedy ace x that are just mixed into the limp node hadn't raised first in. The middling pairs that weren't just like raw raising for value, they're just running some kind of mixed strategy. The pairs that more vulnerable, don't enjoy playing post flop too much, but like to just kind of run it now against like this stronger offsuited ace-x region. Getting a full pre is just not a huge deal at all. Yada yada. And then obviously we established this elephant in the room, these strong unpaired hands. But we're going to see here, these really strong pairs are just so infrequently. I mean, tens is in there a tiny bit of the time, but like these real strong hands in our range just don't exist in this node because they would much rather play in a different part of the tree. They'd rather do something else pre-flop. So that's a really important thing to establish when thinking about this spot. And just like envision that this is what the small blind range looks like pre-flop when you limp and call in isolation, as either you limping and calling in isolation or you isolating yourself as a big blind. It's going to be very suited heavy. We're going to start to fold some of the very bottom deuce-x suited hands. We're going to fold most of our off-suited hands. What you're going to see here, these are where like some of the nuance comes in. In the DTO post-flop realm where you're getting a slightly better price, these are the kind of hands that still get maintained for the small blind that just are now pure folding. Like you're talking like queen 6, queen 5, king 4 off. You're talking like 8 free suited as a small blind. If it's only a free X ISO, you should just be taking your price with this kind of region. But this is just nitpicking. Just like these are the hands that are on the edge, on the margins, right? Like if you're getting a slightly better price than the 4 big blind parameter, you should just be defending slightly wider and taking a few more of these hands. Just you're just kind of using some common sense here, right? I think that we're just setting this scene pretty well for the boys here. Hopefully this makes sense. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at an aggregation report in a second, but what I'm going to do is just kind of show you now quickly. If we go to, small big. Okay, so what you're going to see here is what I'm just going to establish this parameter for you here, that it's actually a 3.3 big blind raise and not a 4 big blind raise, right? So what you're going to see here is just like a little shift. There's going to be a bit of a difference here. There's going to be a bit of a difference in the I'm being an idiot. Sorry about this. There's going to be a bit of a difference in this range versus this range. As in the small blind, you do have all of these suited kings pure. Here you don't. You're going to have ace-2 suited pure, almost pure. Here you don't. You're going to have a few more of these offsuit king x. Here you don't. Just all of the margins that I've just talked about, right? 7-6, 6-5. 6-5 would fold and 7-6 would call, right? So like these are like the kind of the pinpoint areas of the margins. 8 free suited, obviously, on the line would now just fold. But just to really hammer home this point. And obviously for the smaller ISO size, you are going to see a slightly higher frequency of all sorts. If we go back here, if we just go back to this initial ISO, then we're going to see that like the frequencies of isolation is, I mean, they are somewhat similar in this, no matter what. But there are a few more hands that are making it in there that ordinarily wouldn't, either one way or another. Like in this one, 7-2 off would never ISO as a big blind, but here it would for the price it's offering. There's going to be like nuance here, but like largely the ideas remain the same. So I would this is actually quite an important point. Actually, a bunch of like the weakest suited hands for the big blind will actually 3.3x ISO here, but in the 4 big blind ISO sim they don't. So there's maybe depending on who you're playing against, there's already going to be next to no suited hands that aren't just a strong suited hand pre-flop for the big blind at ISO. But depending on the strategy they're running, there could be some like deuce x suited in there, depending on who you're playing against. Always just use some street smarts, be a little streetwise with your approach. All right, so with all of that out of the way, obviously that was a little bit dry, but we do have to establish how these ranges look in order to try and make sense of how we're going to play. So I would say the main takeaway is, the small after all, so the small blind going to be raising first in with strong hand suited aces. Going to limp 3-bet shove the strong offsuit aces. They're not going to have pocket pairs pre-flop playing this node. We're down a very particular node, right? If you really want to sum it all up very in a very simplistic way, it's looking at this range and seeing that the kind of the small blind is pretty capped, on the foundational level. All right, so we're gonna have a quick look at some aggregation stuff here. I am not a huge aggregation guy. I know some people really love this stuff. What we're gonna look at is just a few ideas very quickly. I'll try to filter this by. I tried to click this button to filter, but it's my Excel's not playing ball, unfortunately. But we can just scroll through the boards and just if anyone in the chat has any particular board they would like to look at and bet sizing, we could obviously just scroll towards that without any issues. So what we're going to do here is just quickly look at just a few of the ideas. Firstly, we'll just go to the ace-high boards, and you're going to see that there's pretty much as the in-position player here. So just down. Oh wait, you can't see actually. You can see this is the in-position player here, just from this tab here, and you're going to see on ace-high boards there's just no checking, and what you're also going to see is pretty much all going to be small bets for the in-position player on ace-high boards. There is going to be fringe bigger betting depending on the exact texture. Depending on things being offered and yada yada, but for the most part, ace high boards is going to be betting small with our range and proceeding in that way. But where you are going to start seeing some differences are going to be free Broadway boards. The in-position player is actually not just the range bet free Broadway boards. There's going to be more checking, especially with the presence of King X on the board. We're going to talk about the King X elephant in the room as we just cycle through this aggregation report. As you can see, as soon as we go from Ace King X to Ace Queen X, we're starting to see a far higher betting frequency, and so we added some Broadway ideas again. And then generally, what we're going to look at here is how King high boards are probably the most misplayed kind of elephant in the room for the isolating player pre-flop, just because of the lack of presence of a king. Well, not the lack of presence of a king in their icing range. There's plenty of offsuit King X, and obviously the stronger King X suited will just ISO for value. But the kind of idea that the small blind's composition of hand that would really, the kind of hand class that would really like to limp and really like to call an ISO and not really do much else, not really veer from that path, will just be suited and off-suited kings, right? Hands that have got pretty high row equity in a wide range situation. So we're really going to see that exacerbated when we play post-flop, so just really bear that in mind. Especially when we're going to look at some cool things here in a second. So just kind of general kind of ideas here. Some paired boards, a lot of betting. Is there anything, where these aggregate Excel reports come from? You can just kind of run them in Pio. You can just script and run them in Pio. I'm not particularly a big aggregation report guy. I could I'm sure we could just link these if people want to really flick through them and take some little quick notes or what have you. I'd rather just play through the spot, but if there's any particular board someone would like to see, we can have a look. So what we're going to do now is just quickly have a flick at the out of position play, because it's pretty far removed from playing range check. So we're going to see on a lot of these low boards, pretty much going to range check. There is some leading on some of the more connected boards, 7-6-5, 5-4-3, 8. The 8 high boards, we start to see some very interesting stuff. And where we really, really start to see more leading is 9 high connectivity, 9-6-5. We're talking 9-8x. We're talking 10-9x. And then we're also going to look at... we see a bit on mono, but king high boards. So here we go. So king high boards, you're going to see we're pretty far removed from playing range check as our position when we have limped and we've called this isolation raise and we've gone post. So we see lots of different varying king high boards here, and we're going to see the leading being as high as 29% on king 7-6 two-tone. King Queen X, when we can have lots of suited Queen X and offsuit Queen X that we've limped and caused ISO, we're going to see King Queen X go as high as 30%. Leading. So really something to bear in mind here. They are nice to get a visual. Yeah, they for sure are. I prefer just drilling myself to do that, but yeah, I can definitely see the benefits. So we're going to see King 10x, especially with some flop straights, whereby the small blind really likes to limp and call an ISO with Queen Jack, and Queen Jack is really kind of cuspy for the in-position player doing much with, just because of the implications and ramifications of raising that hand as the in-position player. We're seeing Queen 9-8. We're going to see 10-9x have a lot of leading too. 10-9-8 is like by far the highest lead frequency board that I've generally found. 10-9-8 is like, you can do a lot of leading on that board. So like we're looking at these like kind of connected queen, you know, like Jack 9x, 10-9x, Queen 9x, and then we're looking at the King high boards, especially King Queen X, as real flash points for leading. And then we're also looking at like 8 high connected, some 9 high connected. You know, the presence of an 8 on the board is also very helpful for lead ideas, and you know, some 7-6-5 where 8x is quite strong too. 8x elephant in the room for the small blind is not uncommon if you've also played 30 big blind small blind button, or even, albeit even shorter than that, small blind button. Like a lot of 8x is just always retained in like kind of playing a passive but not folding node. A small blind like suited 8x region is like usually a bit of a hot spot for that, so just to bear that in mind. So with that, I think we should move on to playing some of the spot. I've drilled it quite a lot this afternoon and had mixed I had mixed fortune. I definitely like made some pretty silly mistakes as I was like getting back my bearings of it. I've not played the spot in quite a long time, but it was requested, and it is obviously a useful spot to drill because it's so common. That's why it's, you know, one of the it's probably one of the most difficult spots in the grinder sub kind of region of the DTO realm. But it's, you know, it's a very interesting one, and there's a lot of takeaways that we're gonna kind of go over and kind of just see what's going on. What we'll kind of do is I'm probably going to just try and play and explain my thought process as I'm playing, but we will get people to maybe play a hand or two. We'll get questions from the chat. We'll just, you know, we'll keep it interactive for sure. And not just like not just like a total lecture format by any stretch. All right, let's play. That's just what everyone was here for. So we're gonna just mix it up. We're just gonna play in position and out of position. So we already know that the ace high board is gonna be a range bet for in position. So how you look at these spots is when you're getting 5-1, pretty much any kind of hand that's like a decent king high can't really fold. You know, like Queen high free Broadway gets close, but like the elephant in the room is if you generally have a hand with a spade, you shouldn't be folding. If you're more showdown driven, i.e. having a king on your hand, you're going to lean calling more than raising. But all kinds of like wrap round straights, we're talking 10-7, 9-7, 7-5, you know, like, you know, 7-5 has 2 backdoor straight draws, you know, 7-6, all these kind of hands could just check raise too. Hands like Queen 7, Queen of Spades, we're not going to fold any of these hands. We're not going to fold any pairs. We're not going to fold any like King Jack of Hearts. I don't know if we went that pretty a little bit. But so that's how we're going to look at this. We're going to start with a call. King high way too good to fold, but we have made nothing and straight fold. So now we're going to quickly look. And we can see there's a tiny bit of folding with exactly this combo because like the 6 is a bit too much of a dangler. You know, a hand like King 9 is probably never going to fold in any capacity. You know, these King highs are fairly strong. Like, we need to be like, we need to have a spade in our hand with our weaker King highs. Once we get down to the King 4, King 3, there is a bit of spiciness. We do have this wheel idea. And we're going to have an asymmetry in the wheel, playing a more aggressive node just because the big blind struggles to withstand heat with portions of his range that would improve on the in that manner to like pairs or 2-pair. And we have a lot of like the suited region of the deck that can improve very easily around that part of the board. Just looking at the raising for what it's worth, like 12.7% raising is far more raising than I would suggest that most of the population find here. You kind of want to start driving in money immediately with ace-x. We're going to start to see a bunch of this ace-3, ace-4 with a free wheel, with a strong top pair. Want to try and get some value now, especially if you're playing against more passive players that like won't just bet like pocket 9s for you here, right? Like pocket. So let's say the ace-8 deuce turn 9. Pocket 10s is just going to have to go for value here very easily as the in-position player once it's gone c-bet call. But like if you're starting to play against players that play too passively, the onus is probably going to be on you to start check raising ace-x aggressively and like playing for money, which like is probably a little bit shocking to a lot of players. But like an ace in this SPR, given the shape of our limp call range preflop, if we're really like defunct ace-x and we have so much of everything else, then an ace actually becomes very, very strong for us. And having the ace in our hand obviously restricts the amount of ace X that he has, and he's just betting almost his entire range, which is still like whatever, how much he's ISOing pre-flop, 40% of the deck. So top pair going to be a pretty massive amount of hand. And we're going to see that over and over again in this spot of this SPR, which is, like 4.5 or whatever it is. Like, top pair is a lot of hand. So let's just establish that. Top pair, a lot of hand. We can be in bluff catching nodes with top pair depending on the exact textures, but we're going to be generally looking to play be the person on the front foot with top pair and better. Depending on, there's a lot of nuance, of course, but like just as a general kind of sweeping idea, just really bear that in mind. We're going to see a bunch of like 8x. I mean, you're going to see the 8x larger calling, but you could like see what I'm talking about here, like with a 7-6 with a wraparound free flush, not going to be folding. We're talking 10-7, not going to be folding. We're talking Queen 9 with a spade, not going to be folding. You've got to be very sticky here, so just really bear that in mind. Any King Jack, any King 10, any King 9, as we talked about. So just really bear that in mind. A lot of stickiness when we're playing what is a range bet on this flop. You're getting 5-1. He's far from, he has a lot of top pair. Don't get me wrong, and that's what allows him to do what he does. And there's huge asymmetry, and ace X is what allows him to range bet. But he has a lot of hands that aren't an ace. So 5-1's 5-1. We've got to play some poker here. So just really bear that in mind. Bear that in mind. We're going to keep repeating that over and over again. Apparently. So a similar range bet kind of board here. I'm going to roll a number. I think raising this hand would be okay, especially if it's offsuited. I would rather have the ace of hearts to raise with, but I'm going to play call. It's actually pure check raise for value. We're going to make a lot of mistakes here, guys. We're going to do a lot of raising on a board like this. Kind of any kind of 7-8, free straight. We're talking like 10. I mean, 10-7 actually folds. Oh, that's offsuit, sorry. 10-7 suit won't fold, yeah, of course. But most are raised. So A6 is actually the one that always raises, and King 6 is the one that's mixing, so go me. We're going to make a lot of inaccuracies and mistakes here for what it's worth. I'm far from a particularly strong player. But we're going to just look at some of the margins here that some people might miss. We're talking Queen 5 suited, free straight, free flush. Again, we're placing a range bet. We're getting 5-1. You don't get to fold Queen 5 suited with a backdoor here. You don't get to fold, any kind of king high with 2 overs to the straight generally, even if it's offsuited. If it's suited, definitely not. Be a huge mistake. Where we start actually folding is generally about 9 high backdoor, and that's only when we don't have much else going on. 9-5 with the free straight, it's already going to be enough. And then then at that point about the 10 high backdoor is where we get indifferent. But that's a lot of hand, like hands like 5-3 suited with a wrap around the 6, still going to be okay to put in a raise sometimes. Not improving to a pair is a little problematic. Getting counterfeit and things like ideas like this are not fun, but 25% raise is a lot. So just bear that in mind. There's gonna be like a counter for that, isn't there, at some point? So we'll play the raise now because obviously, I'm surprised he folded that. I guess he needs ace-7 to call. Yeah, so ace-7 is the margin there. Ace-5 off, just a little too. Again, just this idea of like the 6 being over to the 5 is a little too cuspy for him. His ace-5 suit with a backdoor is going to stick around, but he doesn't have that too much of that pre-flop. We're also going to see a bunch of shoving here, which is very interesting. Check raise, when there's a 26% check raise frequency, your best offsuited hand is actually going to go in as a function of protection. Look at the nuance here for the free bet shove. You're never going to see any good hand do this. Any kind of jack? No, absolutely not. Ridiculous notion to do that. We're going to stick around with all of these kind of like free straight, It's really difficult to like make too much sense of this. If you've not done a lot of like MDF work on IP defense, but look at 7-4 suited here against the check raise if you ISO'd it pre-flop. Not a hand you ISO very much, granted. But with a free straight free flush, getting the price you are against like 26% of all the hands that, 26% raising range, you don't get to fold here. You've gotten over to the 6. Again, we're going to be playing poker. Like, there's going to be like, cards like overcards. We're going to just start bluffing this hand in a polar manner, and then we're going to start value betting our Jack X then, or a King X then if it turns a King, or on an Ace, we're just going to start value betting all these Ace X we have. You'll notice that the Ace King is going to be like Ace King of Hearts and Ace Queen of Hearts that are going to shove here. Again, it's just this idea that they don't have a free flush. They don't dominate a bunch of these wraparound hands that we just saw check raising the flop. So we're going to see a lot of this off-suited Ace King just shove. We're going to see Ace King, Ace Queen off just shove. 6x needs protection. It's very much a function of protection, right? And like, what are the kind of hand classes that are very strong on this board, but don't really garner EV and trapping? inverted commas, or like just playing turns and rivers against this wide range. It's going to be offsuited, strong ace highs. It's going to be 6x. It's going to be pocket sevens shoving against the 6, which makes a ton of sense. The ace king offsuit, like offset, is really nice because you can miraculously get there if you ever had a jack. But most of this range at check raising isn't a jack. You still have 2 overs and a free straight against a 6, etc., etc. Are we shutting down once our weak at ace-x check raise and get called as IP then is dominating? Well, no, that's not necessarily the case. Like when we check raising the flop here, you can see how wide imposition's continuing. Like the bottom continues for imposition is like queen 9 off, queen 8 off. Like this is kind of like pretty wild. You're just getting a really good price. Your immediate price is like what, 3-1? 3-1 immediate? Like, if you're getting 3-1 immediate and you're playing an MDF IP and, like, this jam frequency for you is only 9%, that means you're folding 37 and calling 50. You've got to call 54% of hands here against someone that raises 26%. Obviously, caveats we can talk about. You can always go back and talk about, yeah, but what if people aren't check raising enough? And most people aren't. Don't get me wrong on that. But, like, even if people aren't check raising enough, where you would start shaving defense would be, like, 10-8 off. King 8 off, queen 8 off. Queen 8. What's interesting about queen 8 is obviously it's got a free straight to the jack as well. But you can't just start folding fucking king 10 suited with a backdoor. This hand has got way too much equity against the check raising range to ever consider folding, even if it's a tighter player. So just like if you are gonna you need to understand how this baseline looks, and for the 3-1 that you're offered in position, you're gonna have this 9% jam that's gonna be based around 7, 6x, and your strongest offsuit ace-x, ace high. You're going to have mixed 0 EV defends with, these kind of free straight offsuited hands, but hands with overcard, free flush, free straight, way too much hands to ever consider folding. It would just be a pretty big disaster. Look, ace 8 of hearts isn't even folding. You're going to fold king 10 of clubs. It's just kind of ridiculous, Is it use hearts because OOP is... Yes, yeah, that's exactly right. So you garner less EV playing hearts down the line against a check raising range that's going to have a lot of derivation around free straight, free flush ideas. So then it's going to, and you have more of an unblocker value kind of, your unblocker value is a bit higher as well, right? You're getting slightly more folds when you have hearts in your hand. And you do a better job blocking value when you have hearts in your hand, right? If hearts are what's folding flop, if you look at what's folding flop here with king high, it's going to be king deuce of hearts, but the other king deuces aren't folding. It's going to be queen deuce of hearts, but the other queen high free flush isn't folding, right? But what hearts will always be a function of is if he's just check raising a value hand. Jack 8 is going to it's going to be with the whether the 8 of hearts or the jack of hearts. Queen jack is going to be queen jack of hearts, but it's never but queen deuce of hearts is going to fold, right? So you can see that it's better having hearts is quite nice for that idea. And yeah, if you went to this jamming region, I imagine hearts do it even more than the other suits, albeit, when you have ace king, you have ace king. But you can see here, with the queen of hearts is shoving more ace of spades, queen of hearts, but then ace of hearts, queen of spades is mainly calling. So you can start to see that there in the finite detail of a free bet shove versus calling the check raise. But yes, very roundabout way of answering that, yes. So king 10 spades, we already looked at this board, range bet. We're going to range bet, we're going to call a check raise. He just check folds. Obviously, you would just range bet these boards because when you're out of position, you can't on such a low EV board as the out of position player. It's really hard to hit defense here. 45% immediate fold is way too much to ever consider checking your hand. And again, when you have these ideas that both players, well, not both players, but at least the out position player is really stripped ace-x, and hands like pocket sevens can go for multiple streaks of value and should probably look to do it immediately. They can call a check raise. They can barrel turn once you've been check calling the flop because you're targeting the better king highs, you're targeting the better queen highs, etc., etc. You're targeting the lower pairs that one can have here, 4x and 3x, etc. Bit of a loosey-goosey defend. You won't see this hand defend if it's a bigger open or if it's a smaller ante. This is the margin. Again, king high board, so we're going to start to see some stuff. For 21, I'm just going to check, and I think more of these middling boards, you could be a little more careful. This is going to be a board that we're going to do a lot of check raising on. A fair amount of check raising on. We're going to do a lot of defending with free flush, free straights. Obviously, an open ender never going to fold. 41. I think with a heart, we're going to call. I mean, the 6 of hearts is kind of like neither here nor there. But I'm going to call for this roll. And we're going to check. He's going to check back. And I think on the river, we're going to check raise a lot of our stronger King X on the flop. We're going to have a lot of 7x and 4x that aren't going to be worth anything. We have a huge deficit in Broadway, so I think you have to be very careful and selective with sizing here. Our Queen X is probably worth 75% pot, so I think we're going to be allowed to use a 75. We don't have any jacks, we don't have any ace-10, so we have to be really careful here with sizings. I think we're going to have like a lot of check, and then just generally small passive sizings on the backdoor free Broadway, because this is like a very good run out for imposition, even in like any kind of passive node that he likes to play. Aren't these low offsuit gappers better than, say, King 5, King 6 versus under the gun? We're not playing against under the gun. We're playing small blind, big blind, limp ISO. Oh, you're 8 tabling. Well, there's your. Well, yeah, we're not playing against under the gun. That's the. I guess that's not. Yeah, that's not what the session was about. Maybe one of the next sessions we'll do that. Maybe that'll be. I mean, it's quite a simplistic spot, but we could do that. My best guess here is that this is a very good run out for imposition. Imposition's going to have pure jacks, or not pure jacks. He's going to mix jacks on the flop as a check. He's got a lot of ace-10 that we never have. We're going to have some sharing in 10-9. We're going to have some lead ideas. We're going to have aggressive check raises flop, so we have to be pretty careful with deploying bigger sizes. We really struggle with nut hands, struggle to deploy bigger sizes. So I think we're going to have to mix like 25 and some 75. I think our Queen X that we can have is going to be worth like 75 probably. Like Queen 10, maybe Queen 9 suited. We're going to check call flop with those for sure. So I could even just see this being... I don't think I'm going to check. But, like, you do have to be very careful on these boards. And I could easily see this, like, somehow being a check. I think, like, big blind cutoff is, like, a primary example where you would, like, check this hand a lot on this kind of run out in this node. But, like, those are... we're playing against a very different range than if we're playing against the cutoff, for example. So I think I'm going to go for a block. But, like, this could be bad. It could be a check or, like, some 75. I'm not super confident in this one. I could see anything here. We're going to go for block, and it's good. Yeah, so the 75 is going to be for the Queen X, I imagine, the stronger Queen X. Yeah, it's just kind of mixing. Like, but again, look, we're very stripped King X, and we have to be very passive on the river here. So just bear in mind, if we floated... What's a good example? Now, there's not really many great examples, because we actually just, like, we do get to bet enough stuff, like, only 57% check, just because it's blind v blind, and, like, the ISO range can have so much shit in it. Like, if you're playing against, a hijack raise first in, or a cutoff first in, it's very established. It has to be, like, clear some kind of threshold for a hand. Meanwhile, if we're playing against a big blind ISO, it's not so much, that's not so much the case, right? But you can see here, all these Queen X suited with backdoors are going to be worth a bet. Queen 7 blocking the 7x check back, very fun. Going to be able to mix in the check. It's a shame that we can't look at. So we're going to see this leading node. Only 7% on this more middling or off-suited based one. We could have check raised the flop, of course. For the roll, I decided to call, which is fine. Leading turn, pretty fun. A queen, pretty good for our position. We've noticed that the King Queen X is like one of the most common leads for the out position player on the flop. Albeit this node is kind of air, so don't need to like pay too much attention. But yeah, like a lot of block and then some bigger. But we'd never get to use anything bigger than this because like we're just really stripped. We don't have any ace-10. We don't have these kind of hands. We just have a lot of this, and then like not even that much of King X, right? We just have a lot of like third pair, fourth pair, fifth pair. So just bear that in mind. A board that our position can certainly lead on. Well, they're going to be one of the more primo candidates. I think for 51, I'm going to bet, but I might check with the 10 of spades. But this hand could maybe check too. Yeah. I think with the 10 of spades, we're going to check more, I would guess. I think it's a relative. It's kind of somewhat mirrored. It's more like diamond based or not. It's not, but like there's a lot of checking with this 10x with a spade. And that's because there's 22% lead here. on this king queen 8 for the small blind. For what it's worth, I think something to note for you guys when you play against humans here is that you're going to have to be a lot more passive on king high boards than even these sims suggest, because this is not a board that is commonly led even by better players in like the higher stakes games, just because like for one it's like one of those you need to be really cottoned on and really in the moment and just seeing it straight away. And if you're 12 tabling, it'd be really easy to just play range check. But if you're playing against someone that's range checking on a board where you could have, you know, anything from a 22% lead up to a 30% lead, or on 10-9-8 it could be up to a 40% lead, your reaction in position, you're going to have to play passive with a lot more hands, because you know, when a lot of these king X are starting to slide into this betting region against the, you know, the checking range is going to be a little bit weaker. It's going to be still balanced, but there's going to be a little bit more weakness in it, right? So you have to be a little bit wary of that when you're playing. Are all DTO sims generated through Pio? Yeah, I think it's just Pio scripting, yeah. Can't see what else has been used. Yeah, I believe so. Maybe there's some simple. So I think 10-6-4 is like a mix of like all three options. I think this hand, with especially with a 9 in it and the connectivity that the 9 has, a big bet would just make hands of this, you know, kind of dominates fold. I imagine this hand will just check. I can't really see another reason to do anything else. And I think just without a bottom pair, we're just going to play this in the passive node. And we'll decide to do a river. We're just going to call with a pair. And I imagine that's pretty pure. Yeah. So nothing to say here. We're just looking at the turn strategy for in position here. On the turn queen, when there's no offered straights, we can just reopen for a 2e sizing. And with 2 flush draws out there, 10s is now just going to go for the jugular. 10 deuce is actually going to start going for some raw value here against 6x, 4x, especially if it, you know, like king high flush draws, some ace high flush draws. But then our main value is going to be obviously ace queen, king queen. And then we're going to start doing some savage things that some people might not do. So a hand that like might not have wanted to bet the flop. So that's what's a good, like, you know, the jack 3 straight, some weird over, just like not much EV in betting it. 9-5 with some custody backdoor ideas that, you know, can turn some stuff. It's actually just going to reopen the turn now in a polar manner, because the queen is, you know, in the check node. We're doing pretty well, and we just have like a very established region, a top pair of this SPR that kind of wants to play for all the money for 2 streets. So we get to just bluff with some real fucking savage shit here. You know, a hand like 7-5 at check back the flop. If we're going to play a big bet strategy, then 7-5 is going to have a lot of issues playing big bets, right? Just because of the cuspiness and like the frequency of check raise, and just playing, you know, a less than free street game can be less than ideal. Yeah, if we go to the flop, we're just gonna have like, you know, eclectic mix of all three ideas, and a hand like 9-4 obviously just gonna, with this kind of like free straighty kind of card that, you know, we're just gonna make stuff that we do pretty well against just fold immediately. There's not gonna be very many ideas of betting these kind of this class of hand. You know, meanwhile, if we had, what's a good example? Ace-4. Ace-4 is actually just going to put in a big bet quite often here, because it, you know, unblocks all the hands we just talked about, and, you know, and functionally does pretty well in that respect. And, you know, you see Ace-5 doing a little bit of this, not with the Ace of Spades, because the Ace of Spades is going to have too many issues facing aggressive nodes. And, you know, but meanwhile, the King of Spades doing a little bit better, especially since it's a key card to hold against a small blind limp call range, the King of Spades, when there's going to be so much King X in there, making some better King X fold and blocking a lot of continuing ideas via the King of Spades that small blind may have. So just some nuance here, and obviously a lot of just big betting with strong hands. Let's not ignore that. Here to learn pokers. I'm trying my best. It's, you know, it's a work in progress, but I'm glad everyone's here to join us. So I got a gutter here on an 8 high board. 8 high boards have a lot of all-in nodes for both players. Or not a lot of all-in nodes. Not 8-5 is probably like the one that has the least, but there's gonna be a bunch of all-in node. There's gonna be a bunch of big bet all-in stuff going on 8 high boards, blind v blind at 30, with the SBR being, you know, 3.5. I think with 30, I'm just gonna check. There could be some fringe amount of small betting on this board. There's gonna be a clear amount of bigger betting, and we're gonna turn the nuts. And with the nuts, I'm going to bet 50. And on the King River, I'm going to go all in, I believe. I'm going to go fold. All right, so yeah, we're going to just look at the no tip. So yeah, so there is a developed smaller betting region. Again, 6-3, just kind of in this realm that's just got a lot of issues facing aggressive action, and especially on 8 high boards where you can start to see like all the money being wagered. We've talked about ideas of protection and how all the money is going to end up all in for either player before the river as a function of protection. You're going to see this really manifest itself on 7 high and 8 high boards where, you know, it's very dynamic because top pair can just change at any moment. But like if you've got top pair now, it's going to be a lot of fucking hand for free SPR in the blind v blind battle, you know. So we're going to see like this kind of cuspy kind of gut shot with not much else going on, kind of going to a passive node. We're going to see a bunch of this ace-x, you know, mix some betting, some checking, especially if you've got like some spades, you can bet, you can call a check raise. If you've got ace-king, you're just going to go for raw value. If you've got 9-suit queens, so you've got this like overpair, but more vulnerable overpair region, we're gonna start to mix in some bigger bets. You know, queens, no spades, going to bet more often for a bigger size. Jacks with no spades, going to bet out more often for a bigger size. At this lower SPR, just kind of a lot of like very honest, you know, stuff that's kind of you see a lot in, you know, when you run solves, like the stronger naked 8x, ace-8 for a king-8 queen-8 respectively, jack-8, you know, not much slow playing with top pair, right? Like there's going to be a little bit of slow playing with top pair around the wheel region, just for the sake of range construction and like, you know, playability and garnering EV from hands that were doing pretty fucking well against like king-6 or something, queen-6 suited, things like this, you know. I will watch this later, no problem. Still stuck on 71% DTO. Yeah, I think I'm at like 74, 75, so I'm not doing too much better. I can always just blame my drunken antics and Twitch chat for that though. So let's have a look at the turn here. So I employed the half pot sizing. I wasn't too sure on using 2E as a sizing, but like 7s, block 6, 7. 6s, like hands at beta 5, beta 4. Especially if there are some very aggressive actions that our position could have taken but has elected not to take and played a passive node. 8-4 and 8-3 now obviously are going to go straight for value. 7-6 is going to slide in the same kind of slot. Actually, I'm going to just go for this 2E sizing. So 6-3 can obviously go in there too. If you have the suits of the board, you're going to do that less often. You just block more continues, right? So we've got 6-3 off if we isolate it pre-flop. If we have the spade and the diamond, we're going to bet smaller more often, but we're always going to put money in with the nuts here on the turn. Let's not get that twisted. Checking the turn is going to be a bit disastrous with this hand. And on the river, we are going to have this, like, you know, we're going to have a bit of a smaller sizing for the most part. When we wager all the chips here, we're going to just put it in. 6s and 7s on an offsuit king river when there's a lot of king X again in small blind's range, and the small blind has just check called this bet, and his range is quite condensed, and he can improve to some flushes and better hands. We're gonna need to be quite strong to jam the river. So we're going to be looking to do that with, you know, straights, top set. Rivered king X is going to qualify because it beats every pair and blocks the king. And, you know, like, you know, the straights, obviously. And then some bloofs, some random high-low shit. Obviously, we're in a pretty thin part of the tree, so there's not tons of things to just spot. But, like, you know, 9-6 off with especially with diamond, I think just kind of makes a lot of sense, naturally speaking. Okay. Ace of Queenie. King 8-3, and yeah, we're going to start seeing some leads on these king high boards. We've already talked about this. We're not going to fold the best unpaired. We're still not going to fold the best unpaired. Yes, we are. Just kidding. I guess this node is actually, like, we've got to be pretty careful against the bigger node. And I guess because king 8-3 isn't actually that often... yeah, it's okay. It's a decent... I thought we'd have called the turn with this hand, but I guess we just never do. We just need a flush draw. We actually just don't call any of these hands. And we do a bunch of shoving as well against this bigger node because we need protection. So when we're doing a bunch of shoving, we'll do less calling as well. So we're doing a bunch of shoving. 6x, or even with some 3x, it just blocks 2 pair. Then like 9s, 10s just going to go in for protection. If we're going to do a bunch of that, then we do less calling. And yeah, this is just a mistake. I would have thought we may have called on the turn. I guess we'd always call against a smaller size, but against a bigger size. The bigger size is very carved out. So like a very particular subset of hand that we just don't have enough strength against. Obviously our price is worse too. So a mistake from me there. Defending that hand. King Queen 3 again, a board that he could lead. I think with a 10 of hearts blocking snap folds, I'm going to check. On the turn I could definitely reopen 2E. I have Queen Jack at some clip. I have Ace 10 very often, or like quite often to say the least. I can have 10-9 suited. For 71, do I just reopen 2E with 10-7 with a 10 of hearts? Or do I just check again, blocking it some 10x suited? Close. Maybe this just has. Maybe we just have to play a passive node again when we play passive node flop. This could be too aggressive for 71 for sure. I don't see reopening 50 being too much of a thing. We'll give it a go. Really, like, there's too much middling stuff. Maybe just having a middling card's quite bad. Maybe you just want like 10 deuce of hearts, 10 4 of hearts or something. Not sure. This one's a bit weird. We've played a passive node flop, so we could have to play quite passively on the turn. But we do improve in some ways on the turn that does allow us to play some big bets with some portions of our range. Half pot and shove. I don't think that we'd want to reopen half very much here. Like, our second pair and third pair doesn't benefit too much. They kind of block hands that are going to check call. And, like, if we've got jacks, if we have ace-10, we just want to go for more value. Probably slip ace-queen in there as well. And check back the flop. Probably just bets flop a lot, though. All the things you're going to be thinking about when you're playing. I'm not sure on this one, to be honest. This one's weird. I think for this rolling game, I would bet. But maybe the 7's too much of, like, a block, snap, fall, dangler kind of card. I'm not confident here. Like, this is always like what the problem is when you play DTO is like it's hard to have like too much confidence in some of these like real mixed spots, and like you've got to be like very precise, and it's not easy. You know, there's gonna be a lot of mistakes made even by like the better players for sure. I'm far from one of those kind of players. The small blind lead king high and queen high boards even were at 20 big blinds. Yes, especially king high. King high suited hands really like limp calling at 20. So yes, I think so. We'll give it a go. It's probably just bad though. You know, it's kind of what I said, I guess. We can also check back sets on the flop because they just block all the calls. Aces can even check back the flop. Yeah, I mean, like, I'd rather have like 10-3, right? 10-4. The times I didn't bet them on the flop. Let's go to like 10-3 of hearts. Yeah, so the time I would have that kind of hand, like I said, I'd just pure checks the turn again. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of cuspy and close and a bit weird. You can reopen with, you know, the king X that you play the flop with. If you had ace queen, like I said, you can, you know, I mean, jacks makes a lot of sense. Ace 10 makes sense. Yeah, I mean, just again, this is the 28.5% lead. The king queen X, like we established in the aggregation report, bit of a hot spot for the lead. So we're going to play passively on the flop, play 48% check. You know, as good as king 8 checking, king 9 not so much. Even king queen mixing it in a bit. The suited one with backdoors. Off-suited one not so, because, you know, there's some EV in dominating some backdoor free flush stuff. There's, you know, that's where the line starts to get drawn, I suppose. But yeah, look at all this set checking. You know, just blocking all the hands that can continue in a situation whereby we're doing a lot of checking. So, like, we're seeing all these Broadway pairs are checking on these king high boards. And we'll probably see a little bit similar on the queen high. Probably a lot more. There's going to be more betting overall on queen high, but certainly on the king high hot spots to be looking out for. I would assume it would be better to have 2 overs to bottom pair when barreling blind v blind. It doesn't matter so much on like free Broadway with a 3, right? Flop 2 pair. You know, if you've got a hand like queen 10, queen jack, you always check raise. I think queen 6 gets close. Hands like queen deuce 3, queen 3, queen 4 probably mix, and I think queen 6 will mix. Maybe it check raises more with a spade than without. We're also against a node that's a bit weird. Queen 7-6, I believe, will be a board where you can do all 3 options. So you've got to be like mindful that he's playing one of 3 ways, I imagine. It's not like a range bet. It's not like a check or small bet either, I don't think. So he's playing a particular node that's a bit weird to play against. For 64, I am going to... It's really weird. The EV gets close in these spots. Like, queen 10, I would always check raise. And that might sound weird to people, but like queen jack, queen 10, I would always check raise. Queen 8, especially with the 8 of spades, I guess I would always check raise. But queen 6 gets a bit weirder here. I'm going to raise, but I could easily just see it calling. Yeah. Should find that. Yeah, so queen jack, queen 10, queen 9, queen 8 with a spade. Gonna check raise, but queen 6 has EV and calling against this like one of 3 nodes being played. I should have probably found this. I mean, it's only 4% big bet actually, so actually not much big bet. Just kind of carved around kings, but yeah, I should find this. Bit annoyed I didn't find that. Kind of talked it through, then didn't do it. You know, classic being big idiot. Now we're just gonna play the trap ski and keep trapping. So on the turn, I think we will, you know, not really play shoves. Bit of queen 4 and queen 3 in there. The times they check call flop, but you know, the times you have queen 6, it's just going to be way too good and just play a trap. Doesn't mind pretty much anything improving in such wide range scenarios. Why would it be better to have a spade? You just have more equity. So queen 8 was just mixing, but more often with a spade. It's just more equity against range. Trivial check fold. Look at this bigger bet on the mono, by the way. Just something to bear in mind. Actually, not that much to bear in mind. Just a bit of noise, 2%. I was a little bit surprised by that big bet. Easy to say that now, looking at this, of course. But yeah, just, you know, the low monos generally, you know, pretty aggressive on for the most part, and you do get some weird nonsense when you play like small bet check raise. There's some very cuspy defending and stickiness that starts to occur. Check. Fourth pair. I'm just gonna check. So the hands you do well against here are like hands like 9-3, 9-4. You're talking like queen 3, queen 4. It's kind of weird. You don't even have a gutter. You can have so many hands of a gutter. You could just have a 10. Having an ace is like kind of clean though, which is a bit of an issue. But we might just... I'm not sure. Do we have EV regain on a 4 straight? Can we just start leading on a 4 straight? I don't think so. So this is a little grim. Just over 2-1. Having an ace is quite nice, but also I think random ace X base holdings could potentially like mix aggressive nodes here. Like not often, but I mean they could, I suppose. Is the regular opposing DTO already? No. Your equity is pretty locked up though. I mean it's just value, right? I see a lot of this like locked up idea, and I see a lot of like people talking about being locked up, but like, you know, there's just also going for value with a good hand, right? Just pushing equity with a good hand. Like, I think if you start thinking about hands in terms of like being locked up, then you're just going to end up being too locked up as a player yourself, and you're just going to be too passive in way too many nodes and not get enough value in wide range scenarios, because you just like you're just required to go for value with good hands. Has anyone seen Bowie fuck up a spot yet? I've already fucked up a couple, and I don't know what to do here with Ace 5. Two mistakes since I'm here. Thanks, Umberto. Outing me. Do we? I don't know. I mean, I'm just gonna fold. But it's probably it's a mix. You can also big bet that. Wow, look at all this big betting on the turn. My man's capped. We have a lot of Jack X suited. We have strong 10x. You can even use a 5 as a bluff. It's like a merge. We can make some better fold and worse call, I guess. Because the EV just kind of runs close in all of it. Fold. I mean, it was really close. The ace is quite nice to call with. I don't think we lead on the flush. I mean, maybe there's some. But not with this hand. No, there's just no leading with the flush. Okay. We'll just move on from that. King high boards can lead. Do I want to lead 9-7 for 75? Shall we give it a go? I mean, we can give it a go. We can try it. We could just get told off for it though, probably. Ugh. We had to do it. I think we can bet small or check. Benefits of betting small is that we get value from 5x, 6s, 7s, 8s. Equity is still running quite close and symmetrical, so we're going to have a lot of like king, weak king x like king 4. We're going to have uns like jack 10, 10, 9, 9x of diamonds like we have. I think betting small is reasonable. I also think you should have some bigger bets too. In position, not going to really... I mean, like, I think actually there's probably just going to be a lot of small for our position because in position is probably not going to be racing this board against leads much at all. That's what I'm saying. I would assume it'd be better to unblock ranges to push your equity versus calling. Yeah, but like when you're getting 3-1 in position, you're calling really wide, right? I think a lot of people just don't defend check raises enough because they've not run sims to know how wide you should call check raises. I mean, I could see this betting small again. I might get told off for checking here. I'm gonna call. I mean, the bottom of his defending range flop is like queen four with a diamond. You know, like he's just gonna have like the ace of diamonds or something. He's just gonna have 6-7 with a diamond. Like I mean 6-7 with a diamond. I mean yeah, 6-4 with a diamond maybe. Jack symmetrical. So let's look on the turn here. Yeah, I was actually just using 2E with a king. Okay. But yeah, you can see here for the roll, leading, flop, fine. So okay, well, if we're just using 2E ideas, then definitely this hand will just clearly play check call. And yeah, he just had this ace-4 off with a diamond. Nothing to see here. We're getting a lot of these king high boards, so he's gonna lead into us. We're gonna call with pair. I'm not folding with pair 4-1. We're gonna check back the turn with a pair and a Gouda. And we block quite a few bluffs here, actually. We're also pretty restricted in what flushes we can have in these situations. Like, it's just going to be a lot of the nut flush. You know, his 10-9 isn't really incentivized to check the turn, right? So we don't really have much removal. I mean, we're going to block like 9-7 off of a spade. You say all in, I just don't know if it's like... We'd rather just have the ace of spades to go all in with, right? I think. I mean, he could have the ace of spades himself, I suppose, but I guess that hand, like, he should just be betting again with the ace of spades a bunch on the turn. And also, like, ace-x is sort of stripped out of him anyway. I think I'm just going to fold, but this is a bit... We're playing some weird nodes here. Yeah, there is a bit of all-in. So let's see, like, what we could have for... Yeah, so Jack 10. Oh, yeah, we could have Jack... Yeah, so we do have the ace-x of spades, obviously. We have a... Yeah, I keep forgetting we have the deuce-x of spades, so... Yeah, the deuce-x of spades makes sense. I didn't think we had much blocker value with the 9s to block value here. This is just a weird, really weird eclectic mix. Yeah, I mean, calling is, like, interesting. He's done a really weird node here. The bottom of his range is like backdoor diamond unblocker stuff. 5-4 diamonds that just mix the lead. You know, 6-5 of clubs. Like we're down a really, really like ghetto kind of line. His 10-9 actually does check some on the turn. Okay, checks often. Okay, if we can block 10-9, then it does make sense to raise the river. Obviously, we can block some flushes. 9-6. Yeah. Interesting one. In position, we're just going to be playing polar on the turn. It's not like we're going to reopen live for value, right? We're just going to reopen strong hands. Ace-10 doing a little bit of slow playing, just spade-based blocking calls. You know, Ace-10 off on the Ace-10 non-spade combos, never slow playing. All our strong King-X just going for value, 8's going for value. Using 8X as a bloof. Just blocking bet-check 2-pair. King-8, Queen-8. Just things to bear in mind there. Hands that can start leading the flop. Checking the turn. Gonna play this in a passive nude. And I think we're on the line between 25 and 75. I think I'm just going to 25, but it could be a 75. It could just be a overbet. Okay. Interesting. 10-3 and 10 deuce actually go for bigger values. So, like, I mean, we're just a bit of an eclectic mix here. Like, the 8 actually likes checking with, interestingly. Bit of a weird tough river spot that I was not very clear on, and I just kind of nonced out a quarter pot. Unfortunate. So ace-5 and ace-7 going for like block value. Do you roll for nodes in game? Yeah, of course. King deuce deuce. Not going to lead paired king high boards. Just going to... I think this hand really likes calling. I think raising is tempting for the roll. You'd probably raise without the spade more here for value. Just going to play passive check call twice. I think ace-9 no spade probably raises a little bit. But I mean the ace-high just doesn't really raise. So ace-8 no spade raises a bit, right? but with the spade doesn't really raise. Ace-8 no spade is just raw equity against hands with a spade that would call a check raise, you know? What's interesting on some of these paired boards, you're going to get a lot of this, like, repeat small betting. The bottom of our calls on the flop are, like, you know, we're talking 9-7 off with a spade, right? So, you know, there's a lot of the hand, you know, that's in a difficult situation against B40 again on turn. So hands like 8-9 go for some and we just, you know, leverage the fact that we have all of this deuce X to carry on betting this 40% size on the turn. Not so much king X betting though, just blocking all the calls on the paired deuce at least. Don't you like using exploitative tendencies instead of rolling? Well, I don't know what I'm exploiting. I'm just playing against a bunch of monkey button clickers, you know, it's tough. Pure check flop. On a board he can lead and we have bad cards. I blame Umberto for that one. I mean, I just try and play decent poker, right? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you've got to just try and learn what to do. Try and learn that you'd never fold this hand. Does it check raise or does it check call? It's neither here nor there. I think for 69, it's a nice number, so we're going to raise, but like this could just mainly call. Doesn't really matter as long as you continue. The king is a bit of a neutral card. Got some very meh removal. We got some whatever removal. I guess I'll 25 fold, but it's close. We make a straight on the river. That's a pretty good hand. Gonna go all in. I don't think you would check a straight here. Sound. Here's a nice number indeed, 69. A perfect roll, one might say. It was written in the stars for this one. Yeah, it does a lot of calling though, right? Like the hands is quite good. But yeah, even like Jack 5, Jack 6, you know, just calling. But a hand like, you know, 8-5 going to be raising more than Jack 9, right? Because the C betting range is going to have, there's going to be, you know, there's going to be a very heavy, you know, in position bet on a paired board. So like, you know, targeting a hand like Jack 7 off that mixed its call and raise pre-flop, pretty nice. Not going to be able to continue this. Especially against a size. Interesting size up. Let's have a look at this, actually, shall we? I think we're going to see a bunch of deuce X go all in here for us. Or do we just play call only? No, yeah, the deuce X does just go all in. Yeah, okay. Hit this bigger size, I think what you're going to find, the most common hand he's going to have here is going to be like pocket 5s, pocket 6s. Yeah. And then you're going to start to see a mix with the ace X, but you're not going to see it with like queens, jacks, 10s, but you're going to see it with like 8, 7, 6s, 5s, and deuce X himself, especially like if he doesn't have a backdoor, so like heart-based hands. Probably going to quite like doing it, or am I just off there? I might just be off there. A little bit off there. But yeah, it's going to be built around this. These are like the hands I like doing this the most. A lot of bigger bet though on the paired ace, just bear in mind. When it's a, you know, it's a very bricked board, but we're going to have a lot of hands that have got a free flush. Even against this big size, you don't get to fold a king high backdoor flush draw. Most queen high backdoor flush draws. Better offsuit king X, but we're getting so many more folds in this middling region that we wouldn't with a small bet. So benefits of using that size. Do we shove like a king ever hand? Yeah, a bit of king jack of hearts gets in there a little bit, but it's just very deuce X shaped. Flop trips. Interesting turn. I think any kind of 6 we have is also just worth 109%. I also don't know how much he's checking back a paired jack board. I think this is like a 20% check note for him or something. For 71, I don't think having the jack of clubs matters much. I think having the 9 of clubs would matter more. I think with the 9 of clubs, he would play more passively. That being said, you'd still have to check raise. I could see a bit of 70, but like I think the 109 is going to be the size generally, and I think any 6 is probably worth generally a 109 too. Albeit some of those might mix 109 and check. The 3x gets weird. But we have offsuit 6x, so that does take precedence. I'm going to try this, but like maybe you just check raise. I don't know, like this is a weird node. You usually don't face check back here that much, so it's a bit of a weird one. I think I'm going to 109, but This could just check or something. I'd be surprised if it did anything except check or 109. Maybe 70. 25 feels pretty scuffed. The moment. Yeah. So it's a check. I think it's going to be more checking with the 9 of clubs. Oh, no, the 9 of clubs bets pure. And the jack of clubs checks, okay. But yeah, you can see the 6x here is still just worth 109, right? So like I generally wouldn't have ran a non-109 strategy here. My 3x, yeah, I'd just check my 3x. Okay, so check a 109 here. It's just recognizing a 6 again. Well, you know, sub 4 SPR, a 6 is a lot of fucking hand here, boys. Jack 6 free, a 6 is really fucking good. And again, we'll place a 5%. I mean, I was gonna say, this is like a range bet board. It's just fucking... We'll move on from that. 5% check board. How to play against a 5% check frequency, boys. You learned it here first. Gonna check. And gonna call. I'm gonna check. And I think going all in. 89, wow, it's only 2x, but it's really hard here to have like, wow. We have so much 10x of diamonds, man. King X of diamonds could block turn, could 70 turn, could check call turn as well. We probably have flop leads, right? Queen 9-8 2 turn was a flop leading board. The 7 of diamonds doesn't really block any diamonds for us, so we'd rather just have the 10 of diamonds. It's not easy to have the 10 of diamonds and not have a flush, though. Could have exactly 10-7 with the 10 of diamonds. That hand could feasibly bet the turn, but maybe not. Probably doesn't. I think on the turn we're going to have like a mix of every size and it gets weird. Probably a lot of 25, to be honest. Yeah, probably not much. We're not going to have 109 really. It's just going to be 25 and maybe some 60 something percent. And then... I don't think this hand needs to bluff catch. I can't see that. I think this hand would be check jam for like this for the crack, or it would fold. I think I'm just gonna fold. I think they fixed DTO so the bot doesn't take sub 2% nodes anymore. Yeah, it's sub 5%. So we were really unlucky that he took a check back on the Jack 6 because it was 5.3% or something. I said 20%, but like I was way off. I was like, I'd not really seen a paired Broadway check before, so it kind of caught me unawares. Yeah, I mean the hand's just a bit too... What would we ever jam with here? Is it just not even 10-7? What would it use? Does it just use a jack as a free rolly kind of thing? Is that all you need to use for the price? It probably just jack free roll based jack X, right? I don't think there's any raw bluffs. Yeah, I guess when the jacks are straight, you just use like the free roll based jack X idea. Because he's not betting anything worse than the jack with value, and he also just has jams himself. Okay, yeah. So on the turn, yeah, there's like fringe bigger, but it's like largely block. But it's very passive. And we do have this flop lead that we've seen on the Queen 9-8. We saw that in the aggregation report, one of the hot spots, Queen 9-8. Hopefully this isn't too dry for people. I'm enjoying it somewhat. I'm going to small bet this, but it's kind of like this 4 hearts dangler's kind of trash. Maybe this actually hand is going to get inaccuracy for betting this. Maybe I just get told off for betting this straight away and just pure check. Maybe I should roll again and get 6 and check back. Oh, it's a pure bet. Oh, I got punished for that. That didn't happen. No one saw anything. I mean, the hand is complete trash, so, you know. That's fine. And then he just checks the turn with his gutter. Oh, no. The 6 of diamonds is pretty bad to have. Barreling the turn, his check call range is going to, like, bottom's going to be like Jack 6, Queen 6, King 6. I guess that's the idea there. So we'd rather just, you know, have 6-4 of hearts, or, you know, like Jack 4 off or something to bet the turn with, King 4 off or something. I'm enjoying it for sure. Thank you. Appreciate it. Just over it here. So let's just confirm that quickly. So we're going to prefer that, yeah, the Jack 4 off. We don't really have the King. It's King 5 off, yeah. Like this, the problem is with the 6-4. I think there might be some. Yeah, there's gonna be some 6-4 betting, but it's gonna be like it's gonna be very focused around having the 6 of hearts. Because if we go to this flop strategy, where we offer this, like we're gonna have 69% flop bet. He's gonna be getting 5-1 on the call. So the bottom of his calls again, King 6 of a backdoor, Queen 6 of a backdoor, Jack 6 is mainly raising. But yeah, all the 6x based backdoor holdings, so you don't really want to be suited to the 6 very much, because that's where the defense starts to, like, you know, establish. I mean, like, you know, this is where a lot of this defense is for the 5-1. Only thing that's missing is your 5th beer. I'm trying to be good with the old drinking at the moment. I think this is a leading board again. I'm going to check this hand though. Oh no. Oh, this is absolute dust. Oh, this is like, these are like the spots that you've seen the memes about where I get really upset because I've got a free straight on the BDNFD, and if I had it A7 or A8, it clearly doesn't fold. Oh no. Oh, this is so sad. I think this is maybe too condensed of a node, and like, oh, we have 2 backdoor straight draws, but the upper backdoor straight draw is really bad. Oh man, do we just fold? God, folding's so grim. Maybe you just don't get to fold, but like folding is so grim. Maybe this hand just leads quite often. It's easy to say that now. Appreciate that raid, blind guy. Hope your session went well, mate. I'm going with fold. We'll go with Umberto here. We said we're going to have some interaction in chat. We are talking to the chat. Umberto's gone with fold. He can ruin my score if it's a fold. It just leads the flop. Yeah. I mean, it's a hotspot lead. Calling's just too great. It's just too low of an... Like, you know, we're just jamming too much and we just have an under. It's a bad backdoor straight draw against a betting node. It's just really sad. This is why this hand leads 69%. Man, it's pretty funny. Like, when you lead and get raised here, you actually get a better... it's kind of a similar price. Slightly better price, though. 5 to win 18 versus, like, it was sub 3 to 1 before. This is a slightly different range, too. Probably a lot tighter, though. And you would just jam a lot of stuff here as well, right? With 18.3, 8.5 behind, you're gonna have a lot of bet free bet jam. I don't know if... I'm just going to fold this, but this might get a bit weird. Yeah, I mean, just bet fold, obviously. Gonna check this. Gonna check again. That's not a fun card to see. I actually think we can fold. We could raise a bit, maybe. I think the king is a hotspot card whereby we should be folding even relatively decent hands for a decent price. Or maybe we're so ace-high heavy that we don't get to fold a pair, but like I don't like having a 5 because it's just going to block some like absolute trash. I think I'm going to fold for 25, but like we might get told off. Yeah, we get told off. There is actually some raising too. Yeah, the free's quite nice to raise with, but you still have to catch. Bit annoying. Do we get to fold any 3x? I don't think we get to fold a pair. It's just going to be ace-high folding and not much else. Yeah, just ace-high folding, not much else. Pairs too tight. I wasn't sure on the king because the king is like hotspot good card for small blind. So a bit of a mistake there. We could have done anything except fold. So great lesson there for everyone. DTO coach clicking the only wrong option. No fin 5 scissors, baby. We're actually going to check this, although we're going to have a lot of 109, so you're going to be a little bit careful using other sizes, but maybe this hand could do something that's not 109, I suppose. I'm going to check for the passive node. And on the river, I'm definitely going to value bet. Just going to block, I think. Oh, it's going to check call. Oh, it's going to get bigger. Because it was a 109 the turn. Or we could have, again, done something else. But yeah, my 8 actually is just going to... Like, the queen 8 is actually, like, probably the worst hand 75. Oh, no, 10 8 is too bad. Jack 8 blocks. Most 8x, so 8-6 is close, but Queen 8 is just making it into the 75. Okay. Slightly too nitty for myself. Could have also just 109 this hand. Like, Queen 8's just quite a lot of hand on Jack 8, 4, 5, you know. Most of our Jack X clearly going to go for that size. King, Queen, Deuce. Hotspot leading board. We get a 39. Does this hand lead 61% of the time? Close. Let's check, check. Man, these get weird. I think I'm gonna just 109. But I could see something else going on, like check. I mean, actually, I don't see any smaller size. So I think I'm just gonna 109 for 68. But maybe this checks of a 10 in its hand. God fucking damn it. God damn it. Yeah, King 9 pure, King Jack pure. Yep, King 10 mixing it. Pure check. His idea is a Jack 9, Ace Jack blocking a 10. Also, the roll was really close for the flop lead, of course. The 10 idea. I think check or block 75 thing. Which Queen X does he have? Quite a lot. I think 25 or 75 makes sense. I also think, yeah, I don't know about check. I don't know, this one's weird. Don't know what to do. Maybe just 75? A king here? There's quite a bit of Jack X. Well, there's some. Not tons. Not tons, to be honest. It's a lot of lower pairs and Queen X, 10X, high low. I guess. Ace high. Having a 10 might make me block more though. And maybe like big bet King 9, King 8. You could also just have a Jack myself, right? Although I'm mixing Jack X and all sorts. 75? Check. Well, 120 check. Well, this one was pretty rough. King Deuce, 120. King 10 just qualifying for that, or checking. Queen X blocking, King X 75. Yeah, it's just a eclectic mix, yeah. But there are like clear classes that want to do one thing or another, like King 6 just always wants a 75 against a Queen or a 10. Blocking a 10. And then our Jack X just starts mixing. If it blocks a 9, it's going to check more. If it has a Queen as well as a Jack in its hand, it's going to bet more against a 10 or a 9. So it's very blocker based and tough. We're getting a lot of inaccuracies here. I'm kind of fucking up a lot, which isn't great. I think this is close. Maybe it just has to bluff. I think like maybe I don't know how much the flush completers affect things at like 2 SBR blind v blind. There's still so much second pair. Pretty big elephant in the room. Like this limp call region of King X. You're getting tough spots. Yeah, I mean it's just the game, right? It's a tough game. Can't get everything that you wish for. I think 31's interesting. I think the 7 clearly just blocks loads of flushes, which is nice. I think I'll just bluff it off. But like I'm not sure if it's like it's just a straight 75 idea. I guess it can be. Like just top pair still just pretty strong. Or maybe like 40's better against a king. I don't know, it's a bit weird. I'm just gonna bluff it off though. Yeah. Yeah, just weird on the sizing here. I wasn't sure. Very tough. The sizing was unclear. It was kind of an eclectic mix of the two. Ideas of betting 40, ideas of betting 2E. If you have the ace of diamonds, you're going to 2E a lot more. My hand fit in either bracket, but was clearly a very good bluff. We're, of course, range betting flop. So, well, not range betting, but, 12.8% check. It's going to be like queens, no diamond checking back, It's not... queen, yeah, queens, no diamond checking back. You get tons of oddballs by betting small. Yeah, of course. And like, there's still a lot of king X. There's some deuce X pack door. There's like spade combos. 5-1 out of position post. I think as long as you bet some amount, it's gonna be hard to go wrong. A board that we're gonna mix on, but ace king's just value. And by mix on, I mean even ace king's gonna mix, of course, but king queen no. Of course, ace king with a suit's gonna mix, but ace king of hearts is gonna pure bet. Silly me. I was gonna say we already queen 7-6. Not seen lead on this one yet. I don't think the sun raises, but I could be wrong. Just play his passive call nodes. We have a lot of 6x. You block bluffs. I don't know if you get to just call down him. I have like 10-8, 8-9. 8-9's open ended, 10-8 turns a double cutter. No, I just have like king's hand, king jack of spades. Probably don't. I don't really have lower suit hands. 3-1. It's thin. I guess you would always call like, jacks 10s, no spade. Ace 4, ace 7, king 7 off. Ace king. Defended turn. Still 2 overs, right? Ace jack of spades. 3-1's a pretty good price. I could see this maybe calling a bit. Yeah, it's on the line. Definitely just a passive hand to the river, and it is close. Should never defend. Oh, it's just ace king of spades. We have done it over ace king. Well, it's gonna be like king 7. You could have queen 7 jacks. We could have a lot of our 7x just doesn't fold, and obviously like jacks doesn't fold. 10s actually quite passive. 9s, 8s, and 7s actually not folding much. Let's have a look at this bluffing region. I mean, it's just a lot of queen. I mean, he's played a very weird node here. It's only 13% lead, and then he's just playing this 2e strategy. It's like it's a tough one to play against because it's not easy to like just say what he has exactly in his range, right? It's not like he's got to find very particular holdings like 10-8 at a weird mix, but it's just a price of admission, right? Not an easy one. Board we can lead on 27. We would lead with a diamond more than without, I think. I'm gonna check for the roll. I think leading seems fine. We're gonna have a bunch of 109s here. Our hand might qualify with nut gutter. Not nuttish gutter. I mean, effectively nut gutter when he checks by flop. Get value from like 8-6 off, 9-6 off, 9-7 off, 5-7 off. I think this is close on the turn. There's gonna be a lot of 109 for us, but we are gonna lead the flop a bunch too. I don't know about 70. That seems a bit scuffed, but maybe 25 doesn't seem right. I think this sounds close between check and 109. Should have some better 9x, but pretty thin. Like ace 9 off's just shoving a lot over the open over the limp pre-flop. You only have 0.3 ace 9 off in this, and like in the DTO solve, I think it was like shoving very frequently. So it's like king 9 off that's like a concern really. Maybe just 109. Nut gutter's pretty nice. Diamonds, more equity against range. It's pretty close. Okay, it actually likes a block sizing as well. Yeah, right on the line here. And yeah, some leading flop, of course, on the boards we've seen and identified. 7-3 deuce, a board that we're going to play very aggressively on with this combo. Guess we're all in. Man, having an ace kind of sucks for shoving almost. Like, you'd rather just have 7-6 off, but I've got nut 7, man. I don't know. What are you going to do? Offsuit nut 7. Seems pretty clear. Yeah, I mean, you just like there's some slow playing with backdoor suited 7x, like 7-6 off is just like no, these offsuit 7x just always go. He's playing a bunch of small bets too, so we would have done something different against a small bet. I have like absolute dustbin hand, but like do have some removal for some high low suited stuff. Board I'm mixing check and big bet on, I would guess. I think we just start fucking busting the nut here. And I'm gonna bet again with a diamond. And I've rivered a 6. Which I presume is not going to be enough to take the showdown. 16's interesting because you're getting 3-1. We're laying 3-1, but we have like it's interesting, right? So a lot of our hands that we play, we're playing mixed bet check flop, and when we barrel the turn, we're gonna have a lot of hands like 10 deuce, 10-3, 10-4, jack deuce, jack 3, jack 4, and then the hands like this. The thing is with 10 deuce, 10-3, 10-4, I guess there's a lot of king 10, queen 10. Actually, they're gonna call down a bunch, right? So. How much does a 6 block for us? It blocks queen 6, king 6 off, thin. Might just fold the turn, especially 6 of diamonds, right? Blocks a6. That might check raise flop. Probably just calls. May go in turn. Probably just calls. You mean in limp pot BB jams 30 effective of a small blind? Yes, Sun God. If you go back to the start of this video is going to be uploaded. It's the first time you're ever going to be able to go and watch me on video on demand. We go over the pre-flop ranges, so go and have a look at that. It's really important. When you play this spot, while I decide whether to just send this for fucking half pot. When you offer 3-1 on the call, you do have to be selective on what you use, and we're just going to have a lot of high-low trash of various shapes and sizes here. Is a 6 adding enough blocker value to us versus just having a 10 or a jack? Is it better to have 10-4 off, jack 4 off than 6-3 off? We have a lot of hands that can just bet jam. Yeah. I mean, ace-8 off still just look really good, right? I mean, not ace-8 off, ace-8 suited. Ace-8 off shows pre-flop, of course. That actually does affect us a bit. We have JTS, KQO, AKAQO. We don't have sets that much. Maybe have queens. Aces and kings probably going to slow play some flop. I don't know. This one's close. Let's defer to the chat, shall we? Chat. Are we jamming or are we checking? Who wants to be a poker millionaire? Feels close on the river. It is close for half pot, I think. For sure. We have a lot of like high-low offsuit stuff, just bear that in mind. And is a 6 adding enough value for us? Bear that in mind. Probably adding some non-zero, but not much. We do just lose to like Queen X of diamonds, but like 10x and Jack X of diamonds probably don't exist much. If at all, actually. They very rarely exist. They don't really exist at all. So it's quite a strong range. I'm going to say that we check, but the chat wants to jam. I think for 16 I would check. But the chat wants to jam, so I'm going to jam. I think I would check in game here. Yeah. I think you just use like 10-4 off here, jack 4 off. Or whatever the fuck it is. It's actually just using exactly the deuce, and then like, even these actually give up, holy shit. It's using the deuce, it has a deuce in its hand. But yeah, you got to be very selective around this region. You know, this is exactly the region I was detailing to you boys. Very selective around this. And then like, oh, some of the suited deuce X too, of course. So you always forget you have these suited deuce X. Gotta be very selective here for 3-1, boys. Aggro Bowie? Oh yeah, that's true. Could have just given up. I also said we don't have sets, boys. Raise your hands if you were c-betting sets. I mean, I was c-betting ace-king, so I can also be classified in not playing this spot particularly fantastically. Off-suited ones, obviously, just bet. But look at this, boys. Every Broadway pair checking. Get on board. Believe. Believe in the strat. 64% check on the free Broadway. Who's hitting that? Also could have checked the turn, but I was playing very aggro. To be fair, in the times you bet the flop, you do bet the turn very aggressively, and I did have a diamond, so, you know, shoot me. These hands are just gonna fucking carry on going for it, you know. Every pocket pair checking, there you go. Who would have thought? I think this board is still a high in the frequency bet of this bets. But won't do anything for us down the line, I would guess. That's a really fucking good ruler. I have king 10 suited. I mean, we share the nuts, right? I think we might be capped at 100, potentially. Could just be a 50 even. 100? Yeah, all in felt okay, but I think 100 should be the size. When like nuts is shared and stuff, you don't want to start randomly like check back, bet 2x pot. There's a 10, 9x leading. I'm going to bet this because it looks like a hand that can bet. There's my justification for the lads here. We're going to call it in about 10 minutes, boys. It's been a fun little stream. We're going to say 10 minutes because I'm going to go and watch football. We're going to range bet the ace high. We already know this. That is not a fun card. This is not a fun card. Don't even have suits. We're going to be a little bit cheer. Oh, fuck. Queen high, eh? I mean, king high is going to have to just call up. I think queen 7 high is getting a little reachy. Could be some raising, I suppose. I suppose that has to happen at some clip. I think this is kind of an interesting one. I think queen 10, queen jack. I think queen jack's going to have to call probably, right? King X is generally going to have to call. We don't raise very many suited kings pre, other than decent ones. Man, the price is really fucking good here, boys. We have a lot of trash. That's all I'm saying. I could get told off here. Yeah, I was feeling it. And what kind of raisy days are we doing here? What are we using? We don't mind having a 7. It's a 7 diamond hand. 7-4 diamonds. Yeah, look at this bit of queen jack calling, you know. You can't fold your king highs here, that's for sure. Queen jack not really folding. Even queen 7, I mean, queen 7 was pretty close, boys. Pretty close. Price of admission. Number 1, I wish. I'm going to small bet this board, which is very high frequency, and this hand pure doesn't really benefit in checking. Similar board. Very high roll, so I guess I'll bet and defend check raise, but I think this could check. And now we're going to go for it, chief. If it looks like a barreler, you should probably barrel it. We lose to like king high flush draws. I mean, it sucks having 2 suits of the board, but when you lose to flush draws like a queen high and king high, I don't think we should be giving up. If it looks like a barreler, it probably is a barreler. Let's just confirm that. 4. Yeah, there's just too much hand of nothing that we still lose to. Oh, we'll look at the calling range here. I guess ace high is going to have to get a little sticky here sometimes. I mean, ace deuce makes sense. Ace 5, boys. Look at this. Ace 5 of spades. Putting its foot down. There's just a lot of high-low off-suited trash around this Jack X region. And some of the barrel, like, power suit 7 free off. 7 of spades, 3 of diamonds, would you? Look at that. Aggressive poker, boys. Aggressive poker. Name of the game. I might get told off for this, you know. Three straight? Is that enough? 2 overs? Hey, I don't know. We might do too well to fold this. Does anyone want a caller? We got any callers in the chat with Jack 9 off? I mean, having a spade wouldn't be remotely close. Have we got any callers with Jack 9 off here? Any Jack 9 fans? There's got 2 no's. I'm not sure, you know. I am not sure. This might be bad fold. Nah. Gonna need that spade, and we do a lot of raising on the flop, right? A lot of our defense is from raising. Gonna need that spade. Where does the bottom defend come from? Queen 8? Queen 9? Queen 10. There you go, Queen 10. Gonna need king. Need to be cleaner. Need to be cleaner. Need to be cleaner. Don't get too zesty here. Gonna big bet this for the roll, I think. Like, I do a lot of passive play with these hands, but I don't think you should always play them passively. This time we're gonna big bet fold it, but it's gonna mainly check, I would guess. Call. No Feexy. No, it's too loose. 92, should we lead king 3 for 92? The 3's pretty bad to be leading with. But maybe this hand still should have just led because I got 92. Range check the ace, I guess. Ooh. Ooh. Interesting node from the boy. B50 on the turn, not B91. Like B91 you would expect to see quite a lot from the ace jack ace 10. Little nuances here, by the way. Just bear that in mind. He's playing a B50 turn. I'm not sure I would have expected like a B91 from him. Just because like on the turn ace, his ace 10's just going to go for bigger 2 streets. And then he just gets to bluff for a bigger size. Does that mean the king's better to have against like a 51-50? I mean, an ace in any case would never fold, right? How is the 3 doing for us? I think a lot of the high-low 3x is gonna bet flop. So that's good for that's a case for having a 3. He does ISO 3x pretty though suited in these ranges. This is always what you gotta pay attention to, like the deuce and the 3 and the 4. If he's got like suited ones at backdoors that don't bet flop in like on a king high board where everyone's mixing lead and he's mixing check back. I think for the roll we're gonna fold. And just call like a king 5, king 6 for like a 50 or something. I don't know. Yeah, so we should have just led the flop for my roll. Big idiot. Sorry, guys. Could have also led the river. Kings make sense, eh? Look at this. He's going to have a lot of B90 turn. But he's B50 because he has kings. Ah, little hand play from our robot here. Blocking our king X call, so he's gone for the smaller size. He's a cheeky boy. He is a cheeky boy. Look at this. Ace-queen not doing that, though. Remember, he does get to just bet pot on the turn. Got to be very, very cottoned on to bet size into here, boys. In split strategies. Very important. Fold. King 5, king 6 was calling. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, we can go have a look at that in a minute. Sorry about that. I should have had a look at that. God. It's a fucking shit gutter, isn't it? But like, I think the big size 10x is struggling with a pair. God. This is pretty pits. Do we just give up? Oof. Do we just need 2 suits on this connected card? Do we want a 6 in our hand? It's kind of pitsy. But like, I like having a diamond, but like, maybe I don't for 2e. 8's a really fucking passive roll. Do we just bet, check, bet? Bet, check, bet? Let's bet, check, bet. Let's just fold. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty pitsy. We could have just bet, though. Always can just barrel with pretty bad hands when you're in position, like the equity, you know, like the value of your, you know, like the value of your, you know, when you have, sorry, how I should say, when you have like a very strong hand in position here, right? You have, you know, ace 10, ace jack. I mean, ace queen's mixing, ace 10 and ace jack don't when they have like additional either gutter or open-ended like block straights, right? That's a very important concept you see all the time barreling in position with a polar range. Like if you additionally have an open-ender slash block the nuts, slash have a gutter slash block the nuts, it's often stronger than having the kicker above, like ace queen. Like it's better to have ace jack than ace queen for betting. You gain more EV. That you see this all the time when you're like playing X position against big blind, betting flop, barreling turn and like a free straight turn. That's a very common heuristic just to look out for what it's worth. Something to keep your eye on, like jacks and 10s again. Overpair to the 9, blocking the nuts. Jacks overpair to the 9, blocking the nuts. Better than ace queen for betting. It's very interesting, but get on board with this. The solver does stuff, and you have to try and make sense of it. It's not easy. It's never going to be easy to do this stuff, but it's really worth doing. Yeah, we'll just go and have a quick look after in a second to wrap up the stream. We're getting some easy range bet boards, that's always nice. Some freebies for the boys. Checking whether now we have a decision. What are we talking about here? Oh, 2 backdoor straights, huh? This is actually a board we get to do shit on in some capacity down the line, I think. So maybe we call, but maybe we don't. Man, it's a lot of hands to just fold, but maybe 2 backdoor straights. Like, even King 10 doesn't backdoor to the nuts straight on the bottom end. Right? I don't know. Fold again without the spade. We're going to go with this guy, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah. Best hand you fold, boys. Don't worry. Don't you worry about it. You just need the spade. Spade overrules all, you know. Free flush is always nice. We also have leads on the flop. I don't think there's some leads flop though. And it's also fairly infrequent. Could have led this, I suppose. God. I don't think you would check raise this. And you can't lead the turn. I think we're just going to... I mean, you could 75 river, I suppose, but I think I'm just going to block. Ah, 75. Damn it! I should have just check raised as well. Ah, there's a streak. Yeah, I mean, like, other than unblocking a pair, 75. You cap to 75 on all these Broadway players boards, so I'm always, like, pretty careful with my sizing. I think most of my mistakes of this session were just inaccuracy with, like, 75, 25, 75 river. I'll just tell you all that I only B50 river and, you know, escape all of your wrath. Alright, so what we'll do now, just to quickly wrap up, is go to... God, I've gone down to 74. I was at 75, man. It's tough out here. Bunatiru is not doing it. I need a name change. We wanted to look for whatever, I think he said. Kamakro, King 5, King 6. Ah, yes, the King 3 suited. The King 3 offer, we didn't lead the flop because we're a big idiot. Were we calling a King 5, King 6 on the river? Tiny bit with King 5, but not really. Very ace-X heavy against check, bet, no matter what, generally. Or we just prefer like a higher king who just decides to put the foot down. I guess any kind of card with a 5 or a 6 in it is generally going to feature in like some high-low offsuit kind of isolate rammer. So I guess it just prefers having King Jack, King 10, King 9 to block some of the ace-X value, right? Despite him playing some weird mixy kind of B50 turn, it's better to just block ace Jack, ace 10, ace 9, right? Just 2 street value hand in that respect, I guess. Man, it was at 70. I think I was at 76 at one point, Sun God, but I've not played much poker this year. I've not studied much. I've been big idiot. I was big idiot this session as well. But you know, we're gonna do plenty of these sessions for you guys. I'm gonna try and do quite a lot of these before Scoop. Not a lot, but like we'll try and do 2 more before Scoop at least, I'd say. Shall we say? I mean, I would ask you guys just now in the chat what spot you would like next. Maybe we'll ask Pat to put up a poll on Insta again. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully you really enjoyed this. We did hour and a half just now, hour 40. I think it went pretty well. Gonna go and watch this Champions League semi-final. But yeah, trying to get back into these study streets myself because I've been pretty lazy with it the past couple of months, and this is always nice to do. And we'll play some spots that hopefully I'm a little bit better at than this one, but you know, you've got to address the spots you're not so great at. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, boys. I will catch you again in the near future, I'm sure. Peace out for now.